Hello, hello, hello. If you're new to this channel, my name is Mpumi K, Mbonane, and I am a Purpose Alignment Strategist. My mission, the whole mantra of my existence is that I want to help you to leave the place where you feel stuck in, which happens to be your profession, and come to the place of purpose where you are fulfilled, impactful, and you're living a sustainable life. Now, this is very important that I say this because in the previous video, my videographer said something that I really wanted to expand on because I had similar thoughts to his, right? And his view was following your dreams or chasing your dreams is not as glamorous as it sounds. Mark Twain. Now, Mark Twain is an intellectual giant. I absolutely love how he thinks. He once said, do the job you love, something along those lines. Do work you love, and you'll never have to work a day in your life. Ntate Mark. The lies, absolute lies. And as somebody who's been doing this full time for over 15 months now, I can tell you now, lies from the pit of hell. So this video, we are going to be dispelling the lie that if you follow your passion or you chase your dreams, you'll never have to work a day in your life. And I've got my dear friend here to prove this fact, what I'm saying, rather, to be true. Let's get into it. Okay. Woo. All right. So in the previous video, you mentioned that chasing your dreams means never having to work a day in your life, and it's this glamorous thing, and everyone's trying to attain to it, right? Oh, girl boss, be your own boss. Isn't glamorous. What makes you say that? How long have you been a freelancer now? All your life, right? Well, not all your life, but
what? Since what? Basically. My profession.
Yeah. And how long has that been?
So that's like 5 years now.
Have you never had to work a day in your life? Because you love it, right?
I love what I do.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't trade it for a thing. But on the other hand, I think because I'm doing my own thing and I'm running my own business, it's even more work. So that's why I even mentioned in the previous video.
Yeah.
The thing about it is that if you're doing what you love, but you are pushing someone else's vision simultaneously, it's less pressure.
But do you think you still wouldn't need to work?
You would.
Yeah.
For me, it's not because usually, let us just be honest. Usually, doing what you love means doing the unconventional.
This is true, and that takes a lot of work.
So now that takes a lot of work internally. That takes a lot of convincing to other people.
Yes.
Convincing to yourself that this will actually work.
Also, because innovations really require a lot out of you. Yeah.
So I think the work comes in with the basic idea that pushing your dreams is often doing something that society says is impossible or just crazy.
You know, the book I've been reading now, I don't know where it is. Where is it? The book I've been reading, I'm going to read like 2 lines to you because I think it's so important. It actually taps into what you're saying. So this guy says, and this guy is actually a co-founder of PayPal. One of the things he says here is, of course, it's easier to copy a model than to make something new. Doing what we already know how to do takes the world from 1 to n. And if you've never done maths, n is basically infinity, right? So an infinite amount or whatever. Adding more to something familiar. But every time we create something new, we go from 0 to 1. 0 to 1. And it takes a great deal to be a brand or to build a brand or to be part of a brand, an organization, and taking that brand from a place of nothing to a place of being the only one of its kind. And I think that's what you're speaking to, Wutsi. It really takes a great deal of, I don't even know what, to turn something that isn't really known or thought of and making something out of it to be unconventional, because you're shattering glass ceilings, right? You're breaking outside of a box. You're making people uncomfortable because no, this is what we've always done. And you're doing something that is completely new. And here's the beautiful thing also. and this is why I love the concepts of purpose so much, because nobody has the same purpose ever. And the beautiful thing is, because your purpose is unique to you, you see things other people don't. And as a result, you can do things other people can't. And so to bring people to the thing you see that they don't, and to let them do things that they didn't even think they could up until you came along and introduced it, is very, very uncomfortable. I want to speak to the whole idea of pursuing somebody else's dream, because I have an allergic reaction to that statement. Do you think it's lazier to actually follow the conventional path? And is it a lazy that we want people to subscribe themselves to?
I don't think it's lazy, because let's be honest. If not everyone is going to be a innovator.
Okay.
In my opinion, we can, or not everyone is going to be an innovator at the same level.
Yeah,
Some
but
people-
also isn't that dependent on what you think innovation is?
Fair.
Yeah.
Some people are better at executing someone else's vision. Some people are better at coming up with the vision and not executing. Right? You just have to know where you lie. Because it's the notion of now lately people are saying we shouldn't be working 9 to 5, should do your own thing. Is your own thing meant for everyone? Is it really meant for everyone?
No.
Because some people are just not cut to be entrepreneurs. They want to do what they love, but they don't want to stress about the innovation behind making yourself a brand.
Because it's not just the innovation, it's a lot. Everything lies on you. But I don't think the issue is so much entrepreneurship than it is pursuing that dream. And that dream could be in the container of entrepreneurship, yes. And this is why we fall into the fallacy that entrepreneurship is the only thing that you can chase your dreams in. Other people do it in corporates. Other people do it in an NPO. Other people do it in full-time ministry, in the creative space, whatever. But my thing really is around the dream. Because somebody could be doing what they love within corporates, but that doesn't mean that they would not be working a day in their life.
It goes to what actually I wanted to ask you now. Does the dream always have to be you
Ideating it. No. Ooh.
You alone, you ideating it?
No.
Because that's what is being pushed to say. Follow
Your
dream,
own thing.
But your dream doesn't always have to be your own thing. What if your dream is climbing up the corporate ladder?
I don't think that would be the dream, but I think that could be a way of getting to the dream.
Whatever it
Yeah.
may be.
Yeah.
But the idea that the dream means you leaving a particular environment, creating your
To
own
isolate yourself.
Isolate yourself and create your own environment, for me, is a very flawed
Yeah.
perspective,
Yeah.
which is what is being pushed. The dream is not you sitting in that cubicle.
Yeah.
The dream is you moving from the corporate space and pursuing entrepreneurship.
And that is not a dream. Telling you now, that is not a dream. So I remember sitting in church one Sabbath, and the person who was teaching the lesson said something that, I didn't know firstly, but it got me thinking about a very fundamental thing. So we all know the story of when Moses took the Israelites out of Egypt and onto Canaan, right? The reason for that is in Egypt, they were enslaved for like a good 400 years. And what had brought them into that enslavement was their own disobedience. And so they'd been crying and crying and crying, wanting out, right? And God then sent Moses to bring them out of Egypt and take them to Canaan, which was their promised land. The land they were supposed to have already been occupying if they had been obedient. What we know about their journey is that every day, this is 40 years straight, every day, except for the seventh day, which was the Sabbath, for them to rest, every day they would get manna from heaven. So listen, They are not cooking. They are not. Every single day they would get a fresh supply of food. But then, here's what we learn in Joshua chapter 5, verse 11 and 12. Okay. The day after, this is verse 11, the day after the Passover, for the first time, they ate food that they had grown in the promised land, roasted grain and bread made without yeast. Listen to verse 12. The day they crossed the Jordan River, the manna that the Lord had given to them for the past 40 years stopped. That year, they began to eat the food that grew in Canaan. This for me sounded so shocking because they are in the promised land. If there is a place where they get miraculous provision, it has to be in the promised land. But once they got to the promised land, the manna they got from God stopped because now they had land. And I've been an full-time entrepreneur now for like 15 months, if not more, or roundabouts less. And let me tell you, I have had to grow my own food. I have had to learn how to not be self-sufficient, because at the end of the day, we know that we can do all things through Christ who gives us strength, right? But there's a certain level of responsibility. There's a certain level of consciousness that comes when you are in the promised land. So while Mark wants us to believe that do a job you love and you'll never have to work a day in your life, that is so false, because now you've got land. Remember, the 40 years they were traveling, they had no land of their own. They were yet to get into that land. And so it was God's responsibility to make sure that they eat. And even in the promised land, it would be. But now he had provided them the means to get the food. A friend of mine asked me the other day, how has it been being a full-time entrepreneur? And I was like, and she says to me, it's taught you to trust in God more, right? And I was like, shucks, it has. And the whole idea there is that and this is something that a mentor of mine said as soon as I left work, what you're going to realize, Mpumi, is just how resourceful you are. If you're not already, this journey is going to make you so resourceful. You're going to learn how to really maximize and utilize all that you are by virtue of being in this space. And I say to you, there is something so magical and so beautiful about being in the promised land. I know the dream for everyone is to get unstuck, right? A lot of the people who follow me in my work are people who are feeling stuck in their careers. They don't like what they're doing. And the dream is to go towards the thing that fulfills you, the thing in which you create impact, and the thing that makes you money because you're adding value to people's lives. But I want to say to you, while that is true, while being in your purpose is going to give you so much joy, while being in your purpose is going to see you do great exploits and is going to give you really good money, the truth is the manna will stop. And it won't stop because God has stopped being a responsible parent. Imagine your own kids, if you've got kids, or if you know of this. When kids are babies, you have to feed them, you have to bathe them, you have to do everything for them. But at some point, they start being able to do things themselves. And if you want to raise independent children, if you want to raise strong children, it behooves you to let go of the reins and allow them to do that, right? And that's what happens with God. He will give you manna while you're still in the wilderness and you don't know what to do. You hear there and everywhere. But what happens is that once you are in the promised land, the manna will stop. And you are going to have to do the work. In fact, it's more beautiful to do the work and to eat the food, knowing that you put your blood, your sweat, and your tears into that thing. So I really want to debunk the idea that you'll never have to work because you do. And I'm debunking it because a lot of people start seeing the work and they start thinking, this can't be the dream. Oh my gosh, no, I was lied to. Oh my gosh, this can't be purpose if it feels so hard. It's gonna be very, very, not very, very hard, but you're gonna have to do the work. And as I was thinking about this, two things came up, right? The two things that can stand in the way of you really realizing and actualizing the greatness of being in the promised land or being in your purpose. I remember there was a time I was so sick I had to go back home for my mom to take care of me. And while I was there, For the first few days, I was sick, like genuinely sick, and I couldn't do anything. And then at the tail end of my stay at my mom's house, I was not as so I was not so sick that I couldn't work, but I got so comfortable in the bed and in being served and all of that. And I remember a still small voice saying, Mpumi, if you carry on like this, you are going to rob yourself of the promise of purpose. Get up, stop being lazy, and do the work. And that's one of the things that will really stifle you seeing the land flowing with milk and honey is laziness. Thinking that because it's my purpose, it's supposed to come easy. I don't have to work. You have to work. The second thing, which is very closely related to this, is entitlement. And I think I remember speaking about this with you, Hutsi. Talented people are entitled. Very entitled. Because who doesn't know that Mpumi is a great speaker? I'm supposed to get invited. It is my birthright to get invited. Advertise myself. What do you mean? I don't have to speak to anybody because I've got the talent. That entitlement of I'm good at this, people need to know, supposed to come to me, supposed to come easy. Just be very careful that your talent, or that you don't lose what you would have simply because you are entitled by virtue of having your talent. And so those two things for me are very, very major. And I think a lot of people need to watch out for laziness and entitlement. You can't rob yourself of the promise of purpose. You have to do the work in order for the purpose to really fully materialize and realize. But also the entitlement of, I'm good at this, they should see me, I should thrive. It's not going to happen. When you get into the promised land, the manna stops and you have to till the ground because you've got fertile ground. It is there. The whole point is for it to give you food. But if you don't plant the seeds, you're never going to see the harvest. And so, Mark, while I love your brain, so Mark Dalawa Shona, by the way, while I love Mark's brain, I really, really, really need us to know that stepping into what you really love, doing work that you really love, will require you to work. There's just no two ways about it. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video. Ciao.